Do you want to know more about doing model railroad scenery? Why don't you stick around and watch this segment, see how we do it on my Scale model railroad, this AR secondary. Hello everyone, Joe from Central Jersey Conrail Linen Scale, and welcome back to the Scenery Playlist. So this time in the Scenery Playlist, we're going to be going back to Manalapan Lake in Jamesburg so we can do our resin pour. So big disclaimer here. I'm going to just say that, you know, this is my first time doing a resin pour. I did one. I'm laughing hysterically because when this is a retake. Before I said 13 years and then I stopped myself. No, it's been closer to 30 years. It has been so long since I did a water feature, and even then I was a teenager and I did not know what I was doing, and it turned out horrible. So, but this time we're going to do this together. I've been watching a lot of videos, doing a lot of research, and I looked at all kinds of different, you know, techniques for doing water. I really like the way the resin comes out, if it comes out and you do it right. Now, if you do it wrong, from everything I've watched, there's no going back. You got to rip it out. Everything, because it just binds to everything and tears everything apart. So we're going to do this and we're going to tread lightly and hopefully that we do it right. So, you know, I really like the way Luke Towan does it. You know, I watched his videos of him doing his resin pours and then coming in with the Mod Podge gloss on top and blowing it with the airbrush to make the ripples. Because, you know, it's a lake. I'm not looking for rapid water features or anything like that. The key that I've picked up for as you're doing this is to make sure that everything's sealed up. And, you know, when we did the plaster pour, you know, if you remember, it was real soupy. I didn't find any leaks, so I think we're pretty sealed up really good. Just to be sure, I'm going to put everything underneath some plastic to catch it if it does leak. The other thing is, the reason why I pulled all the scenery back from the edge of the bank of the pond is because I don't want it to wick. Because it does have a tendency, if you have your ground foam and all your ground cover right up next to it and it touches it, sometimes it'll wick up into it. So made sure to keep that pulled back. So I think we're all set to go. I painted it. I'm ready to do it. And also I'm going to use some tinting to tint the water because it wasn't clear. It was just, it was green. We'll do it. All right, everyone. So keep your fingers crossed and let's get to work. All right, watch this video and I'll talk to you afterwards. Okay, so I'm going to start. I mix the 2-part resin epoxy in a solo cup, and then I go ahead and start pouring it over the lake surface. I'm using that bamboo skewer to kind of follow the pour, so not so many bubbles. And then I use the skewer to kind of like fill in all the crevices that the resin didn't follow. Now I'm coming in with my barbecue lighter, and I'm just going to use that to pop all the bubbles that are in the resin. So right here you can kind of notice where the tape is starting to kind of fall apart. I don't notice it because I'm filming, and we're looking at it at high speed. So now I'm going to go ahead and start pouring the resin in for the spillway afterwards. You can kind of see that tint a little bit that I added as it's coming out of the cup. And then I'm going to pour it, and then I'm going to use the bamboo skewer to kind of move it around and fill in all the areas that I can't reach. So just be careful when you're pouring this stuff. You noticed I put the cup on that bridge and there was a drip and it ran down onto the roadway surface. So keep that in mind when you're working with the stuff so you don't get it all over your existing scenery. Okay, so now I start noticing that the tape is falling apart and it's starting to look like it's going to run over. So I quickly grab this roll of duct tape and put it up there to try and reinforce it, and it doesn't work. So I scramble around and I find this folder, throw it up there, clamp it, and then drive the drywall screws right into it. So according to the manufacturing, set time is about 20 minutes, but full cure time is 8 hours. And it takes about 48 hours to be fully hardened. So here we are the next morning. I'm pulling off the tape and the folder, and you can see it's ripping everything apart. And I'm just not happy. So here's a shot just showing you the spillway in the canal.
couple days later, I've cleaned everything up, I've respackled, repainted the fascia, and everything looks really good. Now we're going to get started on the ripples. So I'm just coming here with my Mod Podge. I'm working from the outside of the lake towards the spillway. It just seemed like a logical idea to me. And then what you don't see in this video is after I'm done with the lake, as I proceed into the spillway and continue all the way back to the backdrop. Nobody said what pressure to set your airbrush at, so I kind of just took an educated guess here, and I went to 20 pounds. I figured if it was too high, I don't want to blow this stuff everywhere, all over the place, so I figured 20 was a nice, easy pressure, and kind of just worked with it. So I would just start from there and just increase or decrease depending on what you think. Here is the finished product.
Okay, everyone, so there you go. That's how we did it. Yeah, very pleased with the outcome of the Manalapan Lake. Now, halfway through the process, I was very, very concerned. So what had happened was I built the dam up with that tape. And, I was watching Luke Towan's video, and pretty much that was the benchmark of what I was using to do this. Because don't forget, I haven't done this in ever. The last time I did it when I was 13 years old, that doesn't really count because it didn't even come out that great anyway. So, in Luke Towan's video, he was doing it on that little diorama, and he used that masking tape to put up that edge. And yeah, I don't know if the two-part of resin attacked the tape that I used, but it just started to lose its rigidity and slump. And maybe that might have been because it was the curvature. It wasn't straight pulled across, so it had that curve in it. So later on that night after the big debacle, what I ended up doing was, in a scramble, I didn't want to lose all the resin pouring over the dam, onto the carpet. So I ran through the layout room in a frenzy and just found that piece of cardboard shipping envelope that I had gotten decals in, and I just put it up there, drove it in with screws to hold it, and that kind of saved the whole thing. So looking back on it, later on I'd watched a couple videos where other people had taken plexiglass and kind of put it in place and then caulked it with silicone. That's probably the safer bet that I should have done. So that was the major issue with the whole thing. It all came, when I pulled it all off, yeah, it destroyed the fascia board, and but I was able to recover and redo it. I came in with some lightweight spackle because my regular spackle had dried, and used some lightweight spackle, did about 3 coats, and then sanded it real good, cleaned it up, and then repainted it, and yeah, it came out really nice. So that's how I was able to recover from that. As for doing the two-part epoxy, the process itself, mixing and pouring, was relatively easy. I mean, and I used that dye that I had gotten from Scenic Express, and I tinted the resin. At first I was like, I would have liked it to have been a little more darker, but then afterwards, when I put the rippling effect on, it was actually perfect. It has a little bit of tint to it, but you can still see all the color changes in the paint. So I think when you're doing the two-part resin pour, definitely your base paint on the plaster is really going to make the difference, because it made it come out really nice. Standing back from an angle, it really looks like water. It looks like it's deep. Like I want to put my hand into it and feel the bottom, but it's all an optical illusion. So I really wanted to put some ripples in there. I wanted to put some water effects, because if you look out at most water features, inland water features, you get that real glassy look at daybreak and sundown. So that's when the wind dies down and gets real. You get those calm days. But generally speaking, throughout the day, when a breeze picks up, you always get some kind of rippling throughout the water. So I wanted it to look realistic. I didn't want it to look like a mirror finish. So that's why I did the rippling. I was very apprehensive, because ooh, is this going to hide all the paint work that I did and the tinting and of the two-part resin? And really, I was very, very surprised that it does still have a translucent effect. You can see through the rippling. So yeah, definitely the way to go. And Luke Talon's process there for using the Mod Podge gloss, yeah, that's the way to go. Very easy. I was very apprehensive at first, but once I did my first couple passes, it really did it. And the airbrush is the key to that technique. Using an airbrush to push it around really gives it that texture that you're looking for. So yeah, definitely try it if you're doing 2-part resin epoxy. So, you know, just to recap, you know, going into this, I was very, very apprehensive, and because this is something new to me. But then when it all started to fall apart in the middle of the install, I was like, this was a bad idea. And you know, I've heard horror stories that when you mess this up, there's no going back. Like, you got to pretty much rip everything out and start all over, and that's really what I didn't want to do, because I put a lot of work into that. The spillway was all scratch built. Putting in all those walls for the canals and all that. So, you know, that was my biggest fear, was having to rip it all out. But I think I recovered well. Will I do it again? I'm not sure. I may try a different media. But there's really, other than maybe the creek that's going in Lakehurst, there's really no other water features on this layout. So maybe in some dioramas, maybe perfect my techniques. So yeah. So I hope this video helps you out and gives you some pointers, what to do, what not to do, made me think about it. I would, however, my biggest recommendation to everybody is, if you've never done this before and you're not comfortable with it, definitely build a diorama and try it. Don't do it on your layout, because there's no forgiving if you mess it up. So yeah, that's probably the one thing I should have done before I got into this endeavor, was probably should have tried it somewhere off the layout so that I could really perfect it. So, you know, to take care of the bubbles in the resin, that's definitely got to get that done, because you don't want those forming in there, because once they're there, you can't get them out. So a lot of people say to just breathe on the surface and that gets it out. I tried it, it did, but I started getting dizzy. I'm like, this is, no. But I watched a lot of videos where everybody's using butane torches, or they're using the kitchen torch that you use for the desserts. I actually like that little barbecue lighter. They're very inexpensive, easy to get. Just go run up to the store and grab them. But don't use a regular lighter. You want something that has that jet, that like windless barbecue lighters. So that's kind of the key. And yeah, super easy and very, very, very effective. I got no bubbles in there whatsoever. And it was just like, turn it on, quickly move over it, and bubbles are gone. So yeah, definitely something you want to take care of while you're doing your pour. Okay, so that's going to put a wrap on this video. I threw a lot of information out there. I hope it helps you and with doing your water features. You know, because I had a good time doing it, and you know, even it came out good in the end. But in the middle, I was very worried. So if you're seeing this video and you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel, because we'd love to have you following along. Don't forget to hit the bells for the notification. And check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, because the TikTok channel is up and running, and we're having a lot of fun over there. So if you're not a TikTok type of person, just go check it out. You might get hooked. So all right, so that's all I have for you. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.